Hey, okay people, I'm Sean Stewart and we're back at the Organized Chaos Carpentry Shop. This channel is about getting down to the basics in the trades. Stuff tradespeople wish they knew before they got into the trades, and stuff just to help you around your home. I've seen lots of videos on YouTube about people trying to cut a hot dog with a Sawstop and crashing the brake into the blade and stuff like that. I just didn't want to spend the money on a new brake and a new blade. And so that was the fun there. We're talking about how to change the blade on a Sawstop table saw today. It is different than a typical table saw because of the added safety features of the brake and the automatic stop. And we're going over there to change that blade now. Okay, so we're standing here at a 3-horse professional Sawstop table saw. We've had this saw for a couple years now. We use this saw in our shop because of the added safety features that are available to it when we're working with students. But even if you're not, the safety features added on this, amongst being a great saw, has been hugely beneficial. So let's get into changing a blade here. First, we have to remove our plate. Then I would suggest lifting up the knives for throwback and reaching your hand in, lifting that lever up and pulling out your guard. Next thing we got to do, get our wrenches out and remove the blade. We already have our saw unplugged. We started with it unplugged. Blade, 10-inch blade we have in there right now. We're going to be changing that out for a different size blade. We'll get there in a moment. At this point, you're going to reach in, and the red lever that is on the brake of the Sawstop piece, you're going to lift that up the ways. After it's up all the way, you then just pull it straight out, and your brake should pull straight off. The brake has 2 pins, the bigger pin and the smaller pin, that have to line up, and then it'll allow your electronics to plug in if you have it all lined up right, and to pull it off. So we have our blade completely off at this point, but we're going to be changing to a Dado blade just to change things up a little bit. With a Dado blade, you have a wider brake. Because the blade is wider, you need a bigger catch area, you need a stronger brake in order to slow that bigger blade down. Our blade is an 8-inch blade, so there is also a different height factor in the brakes that you're putting on there. And so again, you're going to be going with the bigger hole at the top, smaller hole at the bottom, and it's easier to start by finding where the small hole is, or finding the big hole and then lining up the small hole. Sliding it straight in. Once you're all the way in, grab your red key or lock and slide that in, push it all the way down, and you are in with the brake. Next, we're going to be throwing in our blades. In this case, we're just going to be throwing in 2 8-inch Dado blades. Nut and washer. And tighten it up. You don't have to go extremely tight. With the directional of how the saw turns, it's kind of self-tightening, so you don't have to crank on it. You just got to make it snug. Once you get to this point, you now want to adjust the height of your brake. About a 1/16 of an inch away from your blade is where you want your brake. And so basically touching, a hair off touching. And so you take your Allen key that should be somewhere on your saw, and right down in there you start adjusting, turning it clockwise to bring it up closer to the blade. The point you're checking from is this point here. You're not looking down here, you're checking here. This is where you want your 1/16 gap to be on your brake. And so picturing it on your saw like that is where you're looking. And now we're going to be putting our plate back on, which we have a different plate for our Dado blade. We have our blade changed out. We're now able to set our height of our blade, plug our saw back in, and start cutting. So you're now ready with your new blade in your saw, whether it's a Dado blade or just a replacement blade for the one you've worn out or whatever. But something on my mind, it's off topic, but we've been hanging out with students on Zoom lately because we can't be in the shop with them right now. And one topic that came up lately was integrity. And some of the mentors in our shops were chatting back and forth of how important integrity is in this job field. We get recommended based on our integrity and how we did our work. And so people can get rich pretty quickly, but for a short period of time. They can make a lot of money in a short period of time lying or just using lesser materials or cutting corners. In the long run, that catches up with them. The integrity in this trade allows you to get more and more jobs and allows you to grow as a business. And so that's just something that was on my mind because of the conversation we had the other night. If you're stopping by for the first time or you haven't already and you're feeling up to it, make sure you hit that subscribe button and we'll see you back in the shop soon.